Okay, this might be one of the most controversial things that I say, but the former Broadway musical, Be More Chill, is one of the best musicals ever created. And the problem with that is that it is extremely overlooked and criminally underrated. The genius story and replayable music, such as Two Player Game, Loser Geek Whatever, Michael in the Bathroom, The Pants Song, Pitiful Children, and the best song ever written, She Is Touching My Hand. She is touching my hand. She is touching my hand. This video will contain spoilers for the plot of Be More Chill, so I encourage those who have not yet seen the musical to hop on YouTube to watch the animatic, or at least listen to the soundtrack. In this analysis, I will be delving deep into the history of what started the idea of Be More Chill and how it made its way into Broadway. Be More Chill was originally a novel written by Ned Vizzini that was published in 2004. Fast forward to 2011, and composer and lyricist Joe Iconis read the book, ultimately inspiring him to write it into a musical. However, he needed some help putting it together, so who better than to approach another book author, Joe Trax? Together, they convinced Two River Theater in Red Bank, New Jersey, to commission and premiere this musical on May 30th, 2015, running it until June 28th. Some random name drops here, but I'm giving credit when it's due. The production was directed by Stephen Brackett and featured orchestrations by Charlie Rosin, music direction by Nathan Dame, and choreography by Chase Brock. Will Connolly originally played the main character, Jeremy Here. Eric William Morris played the Squip, George Salazar played Michael Mell, and Stephanie Sue played Christine Canicula. During the musical's production, it received mixed reviews, and therefore did not receive another production. That was until early 2017, when the show started to gain more traction online. Before even getting a Broadway production, the show first received an off-Broadway production in 2018 due to the original cast recording of the songs entering the Billboard Cast Album Charts Top 10 in July 2017. A Broadway production of Be More Chill was announced on September 5th, 2018. It was then announced on December 18th that the entire off-Broadway cast would get a reprise of their roles. Preview performances were starting on February 13th, 2019 until March 10th, when the first official show opened at Lyceum Theater. Lyceum Theater. I don't know how to spell that. One crazy fact is that, according to the lead producer, Jerry Goring, the Broadway transfer cost about $9.5 million. I'm starting to wonder if this show was even worth it for the economy. I'm just baffled by these costs, which may or may not have been the reason for crashing the economy. Oh wait, that was COVID-19. I guess I can't blame Be More Chill for all my problems. The Broadway show didn't last very long, since they announced on June 20th, 2019 that the final production would be on August 11th. In total, there were 30 previews and 177 performances. Be More Chill would have continued if not for that awful man, Ben Brantley. No, I'm kidding. It was mostly due to the COVID-19 pandemic that it wasn't able to continue any further. There wasn't even a performance in Chicago that was announced on December 12th, 2019 that would last for 18 weeks at Apollo Theater. It's funny, I was actually one of the people who had bought tickets to see the show for my high school graduation gift alongside the final Elton John tour, but in the end, it was canceled altogether. There are many differences between the original version of Be More Chill versus the Broadway version. The lyrics, instruments, song titles, and even the order of things were altered. For example, the song title, The Squip Watches, was changed to The Squip Stalks. That's a more subtle change, but a more obvious one is how the Pants Song and The Pitiful Children were swapped in the Broadway version. The Pitiful Children now takes place after the Pants Song, where the Squip informs Jeremy that in order to be with Christine, he must squip the entire school. The song More Than Survive has a much different feel than the original since it plays out to have a more laid-back and playful chorus. Obviously, if you listen to each version, I'm sure you'll notice many different changes in all the possible ways. But one last thing that I'll mention, at least in terms of the music, is that the song Sync Up was added to replace a song titled More Than Survive Reprise 2. And what a change that was, because I don't know what would happen if that genius of a song did not exist. Sync Up is one of those songs that not only adds a new layer to Jeremy's internal struggle, but also serves as a brilliant transition into the deeper themes of social anxiety and identity control. It's sleek, funny, and yet oddly horrifying when you really think about what the squip is asking him to do. That's the genius of Be More Chill. On the surface, it's this colorful, high-energy teen musical full of jokes, catchy techno pop beats, and Mountain Dew references, but underneath that is a deeply personal story about trying to fit in and the dangers of changing yourself too much to do it. Real quick, if you're enjoying this video and want to support the channel in a bigger way, check out my Patreon. It's a great way to help me keep creating. You'll get some cool extras like behind-the-scenes stuff, early access, and more. Links in the description if you want to take a look. Thanks so much. What makes Be More Chill so compelling beyond the earworm tracks and neon aesthetic is its deeply relatable themes. At its core, it's a story about self-worth, identity, and the anxiety of not fitting in. Jeremy here is not just a character. He's every teenager who ever felt invisible. The squip, while played for sci-fi satire, is a scarily real metaphor for external validation, whether it's social media algorithms telling us how to dress or self-help gurus dictating our personalities. It's Black Mirror the musical, but with dance breaks and Mountain Dew. The musical cleverly explores how technology promises connection, yet isolates us further, especially when it hijacks our sense of self. Be More Chill doesn't just talk about anxiety, it sounds like anxiety, especially in numbers like Michael in the Bathroom, when George Salazar somehow turned a breakdown into a standing ovation. Let's now take a second to appreciate this cast of characters because I will defend Rich Goransky and Jake Dillinger with my whole chest. Jeremy, of course, is our awkward everyman, and Michael is a gay icon. His loyalty, wit, and heart make him the emotional compass of the story. Christine Canigula, quirky theater nerd turned into unexpected heartthrob, is the embodiment of chaotic good. And then there's the squip, who manages to be seductive, terrifying, and hilarious all at once. Shout out to Eric William Morris for giving the squip both Keanu Reeves' swagger and corporate menace. Even side characters like Brooke and Chloe aren't just mean girls. They're products of high-pressure system of popularity, hormones, and performative coolness. It's high school, but on steroids. Literally. Or quantum supercomputers. Same thing. Now, let's go all in on the music. Joe Iconis didn't just write songs, he built vibes. There's this unique fusion of pop-punk, electronica, Broadway balladry, and 8-bit video game sounds that somehow all coexist. Two-player game feels like a warm hoodie and a high five. Do You Wanna Ride is unhinged, ridiculous, and unforgettable. And don't even get me started on the smartphone hour, Rich Set a Fire. That's the kind of song that makes you pause halfway through and go, wait, is this a bop about arson? Yes it is. The music doesn't just support the story, it is the story. Every synth stab and distorted harmony reflects Jeremy's fractured reality. Iconis weaponized melody in the best way. In the end, Be More Chill wasn't perfect, and it definitely wasn't made for everyone, but maybe that's exactly why it worked for the people it was made for. It's a musical that dared to be unapologetically weird, loud, neurotic, and emotional. It didn't follow the traditional Broadway formula. It leaned hard into sci-fi absurdity, teenage anxiety, and glitchy electronic music, and somehow, through all of that, it managed to tell a deeply human story about wanting to be seen, wanting to be enough, and learning that being yourself might actually be okay, even if it feels impossible. Sure, the Broadway run was short-lived. It didn't win any Tonys. Critics had their issues, but look past that, and what you'll find is a show that mattered to people in a way that numbers and reviews can't really measure. Fans didn't latch onto it because it was shiny or overhyped. They connected because it spoke to them on a personal level. The music, the characters, the themes, they all tapped into something raw and real that most musicals either gloss over or try too hard to package. Even with all its flaws, and let's be honest, there are plenty, it's hard to deny the impact Be More Chill had during its moment in the spotlight. It proved that a scrappy, internet-fueled show with a synth-heavy score and a storyline about a talking supercomputer could actually get people. It had heart, it had humor, and it had something to say. So, whether you're here for the chaos of the smartphone hour, the emotional wreckage of Michael in the bathroom, or just that one line from "She's touching my hand, she is touching my hand," anyway, that lives rent-free in your head, Be More Chill deserves to be remembered. Maybe not as a game changer, and maybe not as a classic, but as a musical that took a risk, found its audience, and reminded us all that being chill isn't everything. Being real is. Thank you so much for watching. This video took a lot of time to make, so I would really appreciate it if you would leave a like and subscribe. And please make sure to turn on that notification bell so you don't miss a future upload. More quality videos like this one coming soon. Once again, I really appreciate you, and I'll see you next time.